Have you ever heard a sound in the woods that you just can't explain? A sound that chills you to the bone but also pulls you in. That's exactly what happened to me on what was supposed to be a peaceful solo camping trip deep in the Cascade Mountains. I'd set up my tent near a crystal-clear stream. The air was crisp, and the only sounds were the gentle babbling of water and the rustling of leaves. It was perfect, until it wasn't. As dusk settled, a new sound pierced the quiet. It wasn't an animal I recognized. It was a cry, a wail, filled with such profound sadness and desperation that my heart ached. Just hearing it. It sounded like a baby, but there was something different about it. A resonance, a depth that didn't seem entirely human. My first instinct was concern. Was a child lost out here? I grabbed my headlamp, my multi-tool, and a first aid kit, and started moving cautiously toward the source of the sound. The crying grew louder as I pushed through the dense underbrush. It was coming from a small clearing just ahead. My light beam cut through the darkness, and I froze. There, huddled at the base of an ancient cedar tree, was a small figure. It was covered in shaggy, dark brown fur, with large, dark eyes that were wet with tears. It couldn't have been more than 2 feet tall. It looked up at me, its tiny face contorted in distress, and let out another heart-wrenching sob. My mind was racing. This couldn't be real. It looked like ... a baby Bigfoot. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to turn back, to run. This was the stuff of legends, of grainy photos and campfire stories, but I couldn't. The creature looked so helpless, so utterly alone. The crying was raw, a pure expression of fear and loneliness. I slowly knelt down, keeping a safe distance, and spoke in a soft, calm voice. "Hey there, little guy. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." It just kept crying, its small body trembling. I stayed there for what felt like an eternity, just talking to it, trying to soothe it with my voice. But the wailing continued, echoing through the silent forest. I looked around, my senses on high alert. If there was a baby, where were the parents? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. A protective mother Bigfoot was not something I ever wanted to encounter. Still, I couldn't just leave this little one to suffer. After a while, I realized my calm words weren't enough. The crying was becoming weaker, more exhausted. It was a desperate plea. I made a split-second decision that went against every survival instinct I had. I slowly extended my hand, palm up, to show I meant no harm. The little creature watched my every move, its large, intelligent eyes fixated on me. It took a hesitant step forward, then another, before stopping just out of reach. It let out a small whimper, a question. That's when I did it. I gently scooped it up into my arms. The moment my hands made contact with its fur, which was surprisingly soft, the crying stopped. Instantly. It was like flipping a switch. The little creature snuggled into my chest, its trembling body finally stilling. It let out a deep sigh, a sound of pure relief and contentment. I was holding a baby Sasquatch. The reality of the situation was so surreal, I felt like I was in a dream. Its weight was substantial, more than a human baby of its size. It felt solid, muscular. As I held it, I could feel its small heart beating steadily against my own. It wrapped its long, delicate fingers around my shirt, holding on tight. I just stood there, in the middle of the dark woods, holding this impossible creature, completely mesmerized. The fear I'd felt earlier had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of wonder and a strange, protective instinct. I walked back to my campsite, the little one nestled securely in my arms. It had fallen asleep, its breathing soft and even. I sat by my unlit campfire, just holding it, watching its peaceful face in the moonlight. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't keep it, obviously. But I couldn't just leave it alone either. Where was its family? Had it been abandoned? Was it lost? So many questions with no answers. As the first light of dawn began to break, I heard a new sound in the distance. It wasn't a cry. It was a low, resonant call, a deep hooting sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground. The little one in my arms stirred, its ears perking up. It answered with a soft coo. A moment later, the call came again, Closer this time. I knew what was happening. Its family was looking for it. A massive shadow detached itself from the trees at the edge of the clearing. It was huge, easily 8 or 9 feet tall, a silhouette against the rising sun. My blood ran cold. This was it. The parent. The parent? It stood there for a moment, silent and imposing. It let out another low call, and the baby in my arms wriggled. Wanting to go, my heart was pounding in my chest, but I knew what I had to do. I slowly stood up and walked to the edge of the clearing. I gently knelt and placed the baby on the ground. It immediately scampered toward the towering figure. When it reached the adult, it was scooped up into its massive arms with a tenderness that was breathtaking to witness. The large Sasquatch held its baby close, then turned its head and looked directly at me. Its eyes, which I could now see, were a deep, intelligent, amber-eld, no malice. There was just a look of acknowledgement, maybe even gratitude. Then, as silently as it appeared, it turned and melted back into the forest, the baby clinging to its chest, te weragone. I stood there for a long time, the warmth of the baby still lingering in my arms. I was left alone with the rising sun and a story that no one would ever believe. I packed up my camp, my mind reeling. The world felt bigger, more mysterious, and infinitely more magical than it had the day before. I left a part of my heart in those woods, with the baby Bigfoot who just needed a little comfort in the dark. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow for more incredible stories.